went and looked and researched the Church of Philadelphia, the meaning of it is brotherly love. Amen. And they said brotherly love because of the love that they had for the church body, and the love that they had for Jesus, and the love that they had for each other. And so when we're reading and when we're listening to these churches and reading about these churches, you gotta bring it home. You know, you gotta look to see where you're at in the picture. Are you doing what God has called you to do? You know, what's your mission? The thing that we're reading, doing in Bible study, what's your calling? What's your destiny? So the meaning of Philadelphia means brotherly love. They were this was the youngest of the 7 cities. Mm-hmm. And even though they were the youngest, they had the most church unity. Mm-hmm. Church built on love. Yeah. Church built on togetherness. Mm-hmm. What we did yesterday here at New Zion, that was unified. Yeah. What we did here yesterday at New Zion, that was love. Yeah. When we do the we share, that's love. Yeah. That is a unity. So when I read about this, I thought about our church. And it was one of the 7 churches that didn't receive a rebuke. They received commendations. They received things that were that they did good. Because it says, these are the words to him. It says, what he opens, no one can shut. Yeah. He says, after all that you've gone through, because in the area, there were earthquakes in this area. Uh-huh. And because of the earthquakes, things would begin to fall. I don't know if you've ever been in an area that had earthquakes. I'm surely don't want to go to an area that has earthquakes. But because of these earthquakes, the city would be, because of the earthquakes, it would go into shambles and it would be ruins. But they didn't let that stop them from coming together. They didn't let it stop them from being on one accord. So it says, even though you have little strength. Have you ever had little strength before? Oh, yeah. Have you ever felt like you couldn't just go another day? Yeah. But it says that they did not deny the name of Christ. Amen. And that is why the Lord said, I am going to open up doors for them to speak forth my name. So bring it home to you. The reason why God opens up doors for you is so that you can go forth and do the works that are going to glorify his name. You're not just going to walk into an open door where it's going to be all about you. But every door that God opens, he gives you that open door so that you can glorify your Father which is in heaven. So when I'm reading about this and it says, what he opens no one can shut, and what he shuts no one can open, I think about my life. Bring it home. What doors is God getting ready to open up for you as we finish up this book on this week coming? As God begins to really tell you what is it that he has called for you to do. What doors are getting ready to swing open. I like the doors. When I first met Mr. Bynes, amen, and we would go through a door. He said, wait a minute, don't touch that door. Amen. Amen. He said, I'm going to get that door for you. And the door opened up wide. So all I had to do was just step into the door. So as we get ready to complete this book, God is going to be opening up some doors for you. And you got to know, God, I'm not going to be afraid like the Church of Philadelphia. I'm not going to fear like the Church of Philadelphia says, but I'm going to walk into that door because I know there is somebody that needs to hear about the name of God. They need to hear about the works of God. So when we read about the Church of Philadelphia, they received no rebuke. And because they were such a church that was unified and a church that was together, they didn't have time to focus on foolishness. And they didn't have time to focus on mess because they were about mission and mission trips. Anytime God brings things together and he locks them in and you become one accord and you begin to get the agape love of God moving through you, it begins to birth a movement. And what it did in the area of Philadelphia is that they began to branch out on missions. They began to spread revival across the land. They called it a missionary movement because they were already on one accord doing what God had called them to do. And that's just like our God. When you're already doing what you've been called to do, God opens up the door and he says, I'm going to expand your territory. you can spread my name. Let my will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So they began to go and they began to fulfill the call of God. And people didn't have time to hold grudgements because a movement was happening. A movement was happening. New Zion, we don't have time to hold grudges in here. I look back and I did that reel yesterday, and I look back at those pictures, and I look back at those videos, and when we do We Share, I go back and look at the pictures and the videos, and I say, God is doing a movement birthing out of this church. And the community sees it, and the community hears it, and the community feels it, and they know why we do it, because we're giving God the glory, and it's our responsibility to go out and be missionaries out into the land. Amen. And so I was encouraged when I read this, because God began to give me a vision of what it is to be the arms of God, what it is to be the hands of God, what it is to be the feet of God. We are to be moving all in sync with the name and the glory of God, to the glory of God. So that means if I hurt, somebody else in here should be hurting and can help me along my way. Amen. If I lose at something, I shouldn't feel the judgment coming down on me, because we're all in this together. So if a part of me is broken, I got to have somebody that's an arm, somebody that's a feet, somebody that's a leg that'll help pick me up instead of bypassing me, talking about me, because we're all in this together. We should all have that love for one another, so we're all in this for a common cause. And then here is the most important thing. In a church body, when I win, you win. When you win, I win. See, what God is doing here is not just one man or one woman type of thing. Yesterday it took all of us. It took all of us. Working, I thought about, I said, I just had a vision. Fridays are normally my busiest days. Fridays are normally like the kids have wiped me out. I'm done. All I want to do is go home, and I just want to go to bed. But I saw all that food in my mama's house, on the table, on the couch, on the floor. And I said, Lord, help me, Jesus. I said, God, if you could just let me just take a power nap. Because all I can see is, Lord, we can't wait till the morning to get this stuff in here to the church. So I said, God, add the super to my natural. Because I was feeling mighty weak. You see where it says to the church of Philadelphia, though you had little strength. Saints of God, I took it home. I said, God, I was feeling weak. I was feeling little in strength. But God said, ask me for help. Sometimes we think we're in this all alone, but God said, ask me for help. So Elder Brown, I said, God, give me the super to my natural. And it's like something picked me up out of the bed. And I told the girls, let's go. Let's go see all what Grandma has in her house. And I laid the back seat of my car down so we could fit more stuff. That's 3 trips. 3 trips that it took from taking the food there back and forth. But because we all are on a mission. Because I couldn't have people coming to the church and nothing be there for them, or things have been delayed. Sometimes you got to take yourself out of the picture. You can be selfish in this day and age. And God is saying it's time for us to come together, and it's time to be selfless for the cause of Christ. When you do it, the babies will pick it up and they'll do it. Because they said, Mommy lifting. They said, well, we gonna lift too, Mommy. I'm gonna get 2 of these cans, and all of us was lifting, putting it in the car. All of us was lifting, putting it in the car. And I said, girls, I said, this is what God has called for us to do. Well, Mommy, we want to help. And so when they got out here, she started organizing the stuff on the table. And so I said, God, we are all in this together. We are all arms, the head. And then we got the head, which is Jesus Christ. We're the arms, the hands, the feet of Jesus. And I just want us to be like that church of Philadelphia. Even though, hey, amen, we small, maybe small in number, we got to be big in heart. We got to be big in love, and we got to be big in unity. You feeling weak today? Ask God to add add the super to your natural. And that's how he's going to get